the subject of brain tumours was pertinent, and I want you to meet a really extraordinary man. Joining us now is Stephen Webb, English teacher, who has quite a story to tell. Good morning, Stephen.
Good morning.
Really good of you to join us this morning. I haven't said anything about your story, so do you want to start at the beginning and explain the journey that you've been on?
Yeah, I can start with that. So this happens out of the blue in August the 7th, out of nowhere at home. I was about to leave my house, and I had a seizure at home out of the blue.
And you'd never had a seizure before?
Never had a seizure at all. I was just about to leave in the evening. An ambulance took me to the hospital in Coventry, and very I'll pick out the big bits.
Of course.
But they've had a tumour straight. They found a tumour. They thought it was a stroke because I wasn't responding properly in terms of my speech. But very quickly they found what they called it. Well, there was a tumour there, and within quite quickly they said that it's within a couple of days it's been pointed as a glioblastoma.
Yeah, so a type of tumour. So just how did this make you feel at that point? You had a seizure out of the blue, de novo, as we would say. You end up with a diagnosis. They found a brain tumour. You're a young man, aren't you? 45 years old, I believe. You also are co-head of English at Hastings High School. How did you feel at that point?
You give me an extra 5 years there, but
oh, sorry.
That's okay. No, it's like being put into a parallel universe is the best way to explain it, we as a family have a young family, a fiance and two young children, and it's trying to navigate a brand new world, and it's trying to work out, like I say, how to navigate this of what do we do next. And right now we're in the middle of all that, so it's trying to do the.
So at that point, what did the doctors say to you? They said, we have to take you to surgery.
Yes. So I'm fortunate in lots of ways that at Coventry Hospital they've got a brilliant team, a neuro team.
Yeah.
Also, because of some of the effects of having had that, some of my speech is just slightly.
No, of course.
I apologise for that, but they explained very clearly what it is that needed to be done. They said it would make a better chance to resect, which means to remove as much of the tumour as possible by doing an awake craniotomy.
So yeah.
So that meant, because it's in my left temporal lobe, means that they've got it affects my speech and my ability to understand written language is difficult. So as an English the head of department, I can't read books in the same way that I could do now, so I'm having to reteach myself how to.
Sure, of course. Well, you're doing an amazing job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, so we've done that now. And
can I just ask, how big was it?
So initially it was, they said it's about 2 centimetres in terms of its size. But by the time I'd actually gone in for the removal of the tumour as well, it probably would have increased, because they said it suggested it would have moved quite quickly. So I didn't know the actual size, but because of how well of their response, they were able to remove quite a lot of the tumour, which is good. But as you would perhaps know more than most people, is that glioblastoma is not to be blunt about it, but it is a sort of a death sentence. We understand that from quite early. There's no cure for this, and that is the problem, and this is the parallel universe that we're in. That we're sort of thrown into this with this a small not cliche clique of like people, not clique either that, but people who are suffering this very rare thing, and we're all sort of on our own a little bit of trying to work out how to do this, and that's
and so then you have also been offered immunotherapy. So this is treatment to target the immune system. How have you got on with that?
None of that has started. So this is before. First of all, we have to have the standard of care.
Yeah.
So radiotherapy and chemotherapy. So and we're waiting for that to start. And in terms of research, this is where our research started, and this is the immunotherapy. There's something called DC-Vax that we've spotted in the we found in the UK quite early, and out of a panic, what do we do? Because we know that there's no options beyond the standard of care, which, good as it is, doesn't offer anything beyond. So we did that research, and that's when we amongst my local community, an incredible community, the only option was to raise money, was to fund, make the funding for it, which nobody has any options of. Nobody really has an option for. But my community and those around it seem to, they just made an incredible push for this, and they have been doing.
But I mean, you've managed to raise over £150,000, and this is also, you've had all your students behind you. And in fact, I was reading these amazing testimonials. One, Blake, a head prefect at the school, saying, "I've had you, Stephen, from year 8 all the way through. He's the best teacher I've ever had." Isn't that lovely?
Yeah, lovely. It's hard to explain the difference that makes, and it is, all of these things they are remarkable, and what they've done. I mean, it'd be hard to express the difference that has made. But what is good is it's shone a light on a huge problem, because what they've done is they've given us a lifeline to a degree of this amount of money. And the money, as now that we've researched, we're keeping our options open for us. So we're doing our own research, but there's not a huge amount. There's not a lot of options at all. Beyond this, there's very little in terms of research that keeps being, I don't know. It seems like in the UK, as we're learning, there's very, very little in terms of options. It looks like there's things that are in the way that make it difficult, and it pushes people overseas, and just trying to find options for themselves, and that's sort of where we are.
Well, I mean, Stephen, you're an amazing teacher, and I'm really touched actually at what the students have said. They've shaved their heads in solidarity with you as well, and I know you're on an extraordinary and heartbreaking journey, and we wish you all the very best, and thank you so much for coming on to talk to us this morning. That's Stephen Webb there, who is obviously a loved English teacher. Now, after the break, I'm actually going to be talking to Rachel Orritt, who's the Health Information Manager at Cancer Research UK. I'll also be talking to Dr. Phillipa Kaye as well about this. Just a remarkable man. This is Weekend Breakfast. Good morning.
David.
I don't know if you could hear all of that, but Stephen's story, I mean, the whole thing is absolutely heartbreaking. Seizures de novo, first presentation, then has the revelation that he has a brain tumour, a glioblastoma, which is an incurable cancer, and of course he's on this journey. Amazing community getting behind him, raising £150,000, the kids shaving their head in solidarity behind him. Shall we start just by talking about cancer, brain cancer, and symptoms? And I want to put this into perspective so people aren't terrified at home, but equally I just want people to be aware what those early symptoms might be.
Of course, yeah. So some of the most common symptoms that we see are feeling or being sick, having a headache that lasts for quite a long time, or even having seizures like Mr. Webb experienced. But those symptoms can all be common to other conditions too. So it can be quite difficult as someone experiencing them to know what's going on. So that's why we really encourage people to talk to their doctor about anything that's unusual for them. It could be something that they've had for a while and has changed. It could be something brand new, anything that's worrying them. Because spotting something early means that treatment can start, and that can make a real difference.
It can. Phillipa, just let me bring you in here. I mean, that's a tricky one for GPs, isn't it? If people come in and say, look, I've got a headache, I feel a bit dizzy, because those are very general symptoms, and the difficulty is you need the time to actually process that and work out which are the ones to worry about and which are the ones that you don't worry about.
So there are some red flags, and actually, as doctors, we're always waiting for patients to tell us, right? They tell us what's going on. But for example, a headache that is worse when you lie flat, a headache which is worse in the morning as opposed to one that comes on with the stress of the day and as you get tired or dehydrated, a headache that is associated with double vision or changes in your vision, and a headache that's associated with nausea and vomiting. Now, those are more concerning features than a headache, which can be horrible, but that comes on sort of 6, 7 o'clock at night, or that, you know you've been sitting in an uncomfortable position. But yes, we would start with your history, then we would examine you, and we're trying to look, are there any sort of physical signs of pressure on a certain nerve? And we don't, medicine always says we don't always know the answer straight away, and time is medicine, and unfortunately in some situations we don't have that time. But I think that I have the only job in the world where people knock on my door and they say, I'm really sorry to bother you, doc, and I say, literally, that's why I'm sitting here. If you aren't sure, go and see your doctor. Yeah,
very, very sage advice indeed. Let's come back to you, Rachel. I've worked a great deal with Cancer Research UK. You do some brilliant work. Just in terms of this, glioblastoma, the prognosis, and Stephen knows this, so I'm not talking out of turn, the prognosis is pretty terrible.
Yes, it is. And I think what's Mr. Webb has really done an amazing job at is shining a light on the experiences that different people with cancer diagnoses face. It's one of the reasons why it's critical that we can't let up in research to prevent and treat cancer.
And just in terms of that glioblastoma, we talked there about the excision of the tumour, and then he's working out which treatment pathway he goes down. I just wondered if you wanted to talk a little bit about immunotherapy. We're talking a lot now about immunotherapy and the role the immune system plays, and I think this is a very exciting function and modality of medicine. I think we're going to see massive breakthroughs and changes here.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, one of the great things about research is it opens up more avenues to different paths of treatment. With every different person, their situation is going to be slightly different, particularly with brain tumours. So it's really important that we have different options available to us so that the treatment can properly match that patient's needs.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Rachel. Really good to talk to you, Rachel Orritt, there, Health Information Manager at Cancer Research UK. Just very quickly, Phillipa, I was really struck by what Stephen said there. There is this community, but everyone is very isolated, and they're sitting there dealing with their own experiences and journey, and it's really hard because you need to talk together and to have that group feeling, don't you?
So I say this as a person that has had cancer. I was 39 with bowel cancer. Wow. And as amazing as the cancer community is, you're the one that goes in. Yeah. You're the one that goes in for chemo, you're the one that goes in, and even you could have the same cancer as somebody else at exactly the same stage and have a totally different experience. 1 in 2 of us are going to have cancer at some point in our lives. We have to keep talking about it. But just to explain what immunotherapy is. So your immune system doesn't just fight infection. Your immune system clears up. And what it does actually is that it actually does prevent cancer a lot of the time. So cancers are essentially rogue cells that are dividing too quickly. And if we could get your immune system to mop that up, especially cells that we can't even necessarily see, so you've had a surgery and we're trying to mop up the ones that we can't see, then we would be able to treat it. And when we talk about personalised cancer vaccines, that's often what we're talking about, getting that person's immune system to recognise the DNA of that particular tumour. Often we're looking at a mutation, a change in the DNA, and getting your own immune system to mop it up. And that is not just life-changing, it's life-saving.
Absolutely. And it's very exciting, actually, the advances in immunotherapy. Well, that was today's Sunday Surgery.